Hi there, welcome to Art and Jazz. Happy summer. It's summertime and I sure hope the living is easy. Thanks for joining us. For this episode, we present the amazing music and artwork of my friend Tony Guerrero. He's not just a musician, he's a composer, producer, visual artist, and he's a collector of memorabilia. Later in the show, we'll hear his music, some of his collection, and exhibit his latest artwork. But first, here's wonderful work of my dear friend Valerie Herring. Valerie is a gifted photographer, and today's exhibit of her performer collection is amazing. She has a way of capturing the personality of her subjects, and you may see some familiar faces from local musicians. Accompanying Valerie will be the Don Littleton Quintet, a brilliant group known as Elephants in the Park, and they've got some great jazz and Latin jazz. Oh, and just for fun, I included one little impromptu clip of me with the Tony Guerrero Quintet. I couldn't resist. So for the next hour, sit back, relax, get your refreshments, and enjoy art and jazz.
Hello, my name is Valerie Herring. I am a professional photographer with the genre of music, theater, and contemporary portraits. This exhibition will feature my music photographs of jazz artists. My presentation style is vintage black and white plus a little color. I operate as a low-light photographer with a small footprint, meaning no flash, no tripod, and no audience interference at the venues. I utilize the ambient light at each venue to capture my images. The low light skill set was acquired and derived from my days as a theater photographer, which migrates well within each music venue. I have photographed numerous artists such as Monty Alexander, Benny Maupin, Phil Ranowin, Elena and George Gilliam, Les McCann, Don Littleton, and many, many others. As a friend of the music artist, I never want to interfere with the audience vibe and the music. My goal is to capture the visual rhythm of the music to allow the viewer to actually feel the music. So I take a calculated capture to imprint in my images, meaning I tend to stay for both sets. I watch the movement of the artist in the first set to capture the image in the second set. Besides, how lucky am I to be able to merge both my loves of music and photography? Oh my gosh, I love it. So therefore, I hope you enjoy the exhibition and the accompanying music. I want to say thank you for taking time out of your day to view these images, and I hope you enjoy and have a memorable experience as I have been actually capturing these images.
And the living is easy. Fish are jumping and the cotton is high. Your daddy's rich and your mom is good looking. So hush, little baby, don't you cry. Summertime and the living is easy. Fish are jumping and the cotton is high. Your daddy's rich and your mom is good looking. So hush, little baby, don't you cry. One of these mornings we'll rise up singing and swinging. Spread your wings and we'll take to the sky. When that morning comes, there ain't nothing gonna harm you. When Daddy and Mommy are standing by.
here so I can scan. Uh-oh, here he comes. Listen to this guy. One of these mornings, we're gonna rise up singing and swinging, swinging. So hush, little baby, don't you cry. Let's take it out, guys. Don't you cry. Don't you cry. Cry, baby. Summertime, summertime, summertime. Oh, summertime. Your daddy's rich and your mom's good looking. Tony's rich and he's good looking too. Yes, 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 too. We're here, we comes jazz, we comes jazz. We got a thing going here. Thank God for live music. Thank you. They sound fantastic, don't they? Summertime. Since his first solo release in 1988, Tony Guerrero has established himself in a variety of areas. His work as a contemporary jazz flugelhornist, trumpeter, composer, and producer have garnered him both critical success and a worldwide audience. He has toured the United States and much of the world as a headliner in major jazz festivals, concert halls, and clubs, and has enjoyed commercial radio success not only with his own releases, but with music he's written for other artists. To date, he has released 12 solo CDs, some of which have charted on the Billboard Top 20, as well as a variety of special releases. He has appeared on around 200 albums as either a producer, composer, arranger, or as a musician performing on either trumpet, flugelhorn, piano, guitar, or more. Guerrero's work as a musician and composer can also be heard in movies and on television. Tony is a very special artist, very diverse. I caught up with him at his latest venture, his store. He has a store where he's collected memorabilia and he has it for sale. Here's Tony.
Well, when I was a little kid, I was really into cartooning. I think I've always been drawn to creative outlets, and I was really into cartooning, and Charles Schulz was my hero, and I would do book reports on Charles Schulz, and so that's what I wanted to do. And when I was in the 4th grade, I was in class one day and I got in trouble with the teacher, and she scolded me, and then a moment later the music teacher for the school walked in and said, "Hey, today's the day to sign up for music classes, so if you'd like to come with me," and my hand shot up because I just wanted to get out of class. So that was my inauspicious start in music, and ended up from there just taking the trumpet, and it wasn't really until I got into junior high that I really found myself loving music. And in fact, going into junior high, I had wanted to quit because they had given us I had the option of either being in the band or taking this elective course, and where every 2 weeks the subject would change, and one of the 2-week subjects was going to be cartooning, so that's what I wanted. My mom kind of forced me to stay in music. And
good old mom.
Yeah, but the band director in junior high was really instrumental in causing me to fall in love with music, basically. It's because of him, Mark Takeuchi, that I just found this connection to what music is besides just the notes on the page. And by the time I left junior high, I knew that was what I wanted to do. Oh. Yeah.
So your mom knew.
My mom knew.
Your mom had insight.
She did, yeah.
Yay for moms.
Yeah.
So once you got to high school was when you had your first big performance, or the end of high school?
Well, in junior high, I kind of knew that was what I wanted. By the time I left junior high, I was trying to like write my own little melodies and things like that. When I got into high school, and in fact in junior high I had a little rock band I was playing drums in. I was horrible, but we had started to write songs, so there was just something there I wanted. And when I got into high school, I was introduced to the music of Chuck Mangione, which was this instant connection for me, and that from there I dove in. I was all about his music and music like that, and because of him I got into Art Farmer and Dizzy Gillespie, and so I just loved everything about that. And my band director in high school was also very instrumental. His name was Walter Houston, and he gave me a whole lot of freedom to do these big things that weren't part of the curriculum. So I remember we did concerts where we would do original songs of mine, or we would do, I did an arrangement for the orchestra, the concert band, and the choir together for a Christmas concert. And our graduation ceremony, we did a big original song of mine with the orchestra and the choir. And that was all because he just gave me that freedom, even though I wasn't ready for it. Those arrangements are not going to hold up to any scrutiny, but the fact that he gave that to me. And so by the time I was in, right around the middle of high school, I had met some musicians outside of high school that we started a band. So I was just pursuing my own original thing by that time. Before I left high school, I was kind of doing my own little band, and yeah. So, and in fact, that band, once I graduated high school, we started working a little bit of the club scene here in Orange County.
Who was in your band?
At that time, it was a guy named Josh Zimmerman on saxophone, Chris Gillette on guitar, Dean Butterworth, Dean has definitely gone on to some great things. And in fact, he and I have a connection recently through Jane Lynch. He's the house drummer on her game show. And, and then a couple random bass players at different times. And we just, I was writing songs, and we would do little community concerts whenever we could. Anything we could, anyone who would let us play, we'd go show up and play. And really great learning and great experiences doing that.
Great.
So, I went to Cal State Fullerton, and it wasn't really a jazz school at the time, but it was just like high school. It was there was a band director there who kind of let me take over and do some creative things. His name was Jim Romeo. I just owe those guys a lot. Same thing, we would do jazz concerts or just the normal concerts that were part of the curriculum, and he would let me choose songs or do originals or do arrangements. I brought in guest artists that I wanted. I don't know why, but he just let me have this free reign for some of those things, and it has a lot to do with me getting a taste for wanting to be, I guess, kind of wanting to be in charge, be the band leader, be the producer, the arranger, director, all those things.
Yeah.
And so really just great experiences there. The reason I left college, I started playing with a new group of guys, and we met a company, some people from a company called White Light Productions, a very small, fledgling little music company. And they ended up approaching me about would I want to do an album, and of course I would. I mean, at that time, this is the late 80s. Now it's kind of everybody with a computer can make an album, Back then it was a big deal to have somebody offer that to you.
Oh, yeah.
And that was eventually why I left college, was because of those opportunities, and I wasn't having the time for college. And so one of the things, probably the most crucial person I had in my musical life is a woman named Lucille Hunt, who for the next many years became my manager and definitely my mentor, and we're still very close, and she's still the one I go to when there's any kind of musical thing to figure out. or business thing to figure out. And she, you know, made a great name for herself in the business as well. But one of the things she did that was really important, you know, we got a job playing at the Cafe Lido in Newport Beach, if you remember that. Joe Speranza was a great mentor to me at the time, letting me into the club long before I was old enough to do that. And he, so we got this gig playing there every Friday and Saturday night. And at the time, I was just calling all my college buddies to come and play with me, and that was all fine. You know, we had fun. But anytime I needed a sub, Lucille insisted that I call some of the best musicians in LA, which I didn't know them. Two, I was very scared about doing that, but I ended up having people in my band who were, you know, now like world famous, you know, I had Mike Garson, who was David Bowie's piano player, Brian Bromberg, Bill Cunliffe, this Richard Smith. All these amazing musicians would come and just sub and fill in. You know, they could probably care less about me at the time, but I just got this experience of playing with the best. And because of her mentorship and those experiences, and then my first album coming out, and then that did well enough that we got signed to a bigger label, a label called Nova Records at the time. And just through all of that, we just started doing more and more bigger things. My first road trips happened after my first album, where I got to go out as a headliner. And so really my first big gigs for me were the ones I got to do where I was going on the road doing my own music to an audience who was paying to see my stuff, you know. So that was pretty heady for a kid at that time.
Wait, so how old were you at that time?
My first album came out when I was 21, I think.
Oh, that's young.
Yeah, and so we were able to do that pretty early on. I would say during that whole season, probably the biggest gig, to answer your question at the time, was I got to be one of the headliners at the Cancun Jazz Festival, which, you know, we went on right after Nancy Wilson. Like,
oh my gosh.
Yeah. So it was people like Nancy Wilson were there on the bill. I think Winton was on it 1 year, we did it 2 years. Just George Benson, like just all these heroes that, you know, they weren't there. They didn't notice me at all, but I sure noticed that they were there.
That's
you know,
okay.
So yeah.
That's wonderful. And you've just continued for so many years. One of the things I admire about you is your diversity within the field of music, not just recording, but producing. The different projects you have recorded, the videos you've recorded, the groups that you have formed. So I want to ask you about Dick Van Dyke and Jane Lynch. So tell me a little bit about how that occurred.
Sure. You know, the Jane Lynch thing happened through my friend Tim. Tim and I had known each other for about 10 years at the time, and he is a really well-established, very popular vocal producer in LA and does a lot of big TV and movie and big record sessions, and he's a vocal contractor and arranger. And so he had been the vocal contractor and producer for the TV show Glee that Jane was on. And so obviously they became friends, and when she had the opportunity to do a little cabaret show, she asked him to basically recommend somebody. It was for a one-night gig in San Diego, and so he recommended me, and just through the planning for that one, it went from I was just going to play piano and have a bass player and a drummer, and then as we just started talking and adding things to it, it ended up being where I was able to bring my full quintet, so my full band, and then we ended up doing an opening set for her, and there was just mutual love there. In fact, at the very first rehearsal, she was still unsure about whether or not she wanted to do this big ensemble versus just the trio. And she just said, "This is it. We're doing this." You know, and she got excited. She got on the phone and was like, "Book some gigs. We're going to take this on the road." And so it was just very exciting right from the beginning. And honestly, the love's just grown since then. Both her and Kate Flannery, who does the show, she's from The Office, the TV show The Office, and there's just this big love affair with all of us, not just me and them, but the band and all the band members and our road managers, and you know, it's just.
And you went on the road with them, not this past year, but the year before.
We've been out on the road really every year. Our first gig was October of 2014.
Oh my
And
goodness.
so by 2015, we were doing road dates. And
that's wonderful.
yeah, so we've been out every year, definitely every Christmas. Well, no, actually, we recorded a Christmas album in 2016. So ever since then, we've gone and done Christmas tours as well. So summer tours, Christmas tours. Yeah, it's been great. And then the Dick Van Dyke thing happened. A bass player who was in my band for a long time back in the 90s, a guy named Dave Enos, had been asked to do Dave, of course, had been asked to do the arrangements for Dick's album, and he had an idea that, you know, I fit into the idea for him, so he called me to play, and I got to play trumpet on that record, and then that even turned into, you know, he knows, as some people know, I like to do this very not so great Louis Armstrong impression, but I do it only for
cute.
It's cute. It's only for fun. I do not take myself seriously.
Hey, it's good.
I don't actually sound like him. It's just I think it's kind of funny, and people seem to laugh when I do it. So, but he thought, what about you doing a duet with Dick? And I've always, when people have asked me to record that, I always say no for the reasons I just listed. Like, I don't take it seriously. I don't want people to think that I think I sound like Louis or anything like that. But he said that, and I'm like, I am not saying no to Dick Van Dyke. So,
of course not.
So I got to sing a duet with Dick Van Dyke on his record, which is just, you know, I could pretty much cap off a career with that. And then, and then from there, he, you know, Dick is very open and friendly, and you know, we were able to talk. And I eventually wrote a Christmas song that I had him record, and then Jane joined us on that, so we got to record the two of them on my song.
That was a fun song.
It's so fun, yeah, it's so great. And they even let me direct the video, which we ended up in a studio at Universal Studios, and I'm directing, and these two legendary people. It's really like stupid stuff I shouldn't be doing.
I would have been beside myself.
Yeah, it's not stuff I should be doing. Well, this little space is sort of the end result of a nasty little habit I picked up of collecting things I didn't have room for. Basically, I love the whole mid-century modern era, which really is late 40s to the very early 70s, but for me the sweet spot is the late 50s to the early 60s, so I just love the music and the style and the architecture and the colors and all of that. And so I had been buying things as I would see them, and just sort of collecting them, even though my house wasn't decorated that way, and ultimately ended up not having space for all the things I was buying, and I would bring things home and put them in a closet. And so one day I was walking through this antique mall here. We're at the Antique Depot in the Orange Circle, and they had an open space, and I thought, that might be interesting. Maybe I could start to sell some of the stuff I have, and yeah, I filled out the application and took the space over with my sister-in-law, and just ended up having this great reason to pursue this little side hobby that has nothing to do with music. And basically now I can buy all the stuff that I like, and I get to kind of own it for a while and then pass it on to somebody else. And so it's kind of satisfying to, you know, just have these things in my hand for a few minutes and then see somebody else get excited about buying them. So. Well, I've never stopped drawing. I've always had, you know, I always am doodling and sketching like so many people do, and I have a certain little level of ability that I've maintained, but I've never really pursued the craft, you know, like I might have had I really pursued it for a career. Back in the 90s, I had some cartoons published in a jazz magazine, and one of which went viral a few years ago, so without my doing, it just started getting passed around the internet, and that was kind of fun to see. But yeah, I never took it seriously really, and then just over this last year, I just started doing it again, and I just sort of, you know, it's kind of connected to all this because of this era. I started studying the techniques of mid-century illustration, the kind that you'd see in advertisements and cartoons of the era, and just sort of studying the patterns and the color schemes and the techniques and the brushes that they would use. And as I started digging in and applying that to my own work, I just sort of kind of found a voice in it. You know, I'm not putting myself out there as anything great, but I found a little niche that I like, that I can do. And so it's become a really therapeutic thing for me to have that. That's, again, I do a lot of things in music, but having something that's not music is really good.
Yes,
really,
it's so fulfilling, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're not missing any facet of your life that, oh, I wish I would have done that.
Right.
I wish I would have gotten it. So that's one of the things that I admire about you a lot. You just jump right in there.
Yeah, and there are things that like I said, I really like the creative process. So even like, you know, I've talked about website stuff. You know, I've made websites, and
helped me a lot.
I'm not the best, but I like doing it. I always just, when I get asked to do that, or now I'm getting asked to do illustration stuff, like I'm not really looking to turn that into a business or get paid. It's just sort of, if I can help somebody, great. And I always tell them, if you don't like it, you know, just move on, and you know, but it's fun to try it, and you know. So
I like that open-minded spirit that you have. Yeah.
I think the three things I would say are, one, be creative, and like pursue being creative, and then create your own opportunities. I know if I were just a trumpet player sitting at home waiting for people to call me, I wouldn't have much of a career. I've created a lot of my own things. I'm going to say four things actually. Two, really know yourself. Like, there's nothing worse than a musician who just says, I can do it, and shows up and can't do it. So it's really important to know what you're good at and what you're not good at, and when those calls come, be first to say, oh, I'm not the right guy for that, let me give you somebody else's number. And I just think that's really important.
Very good.
The third thing is, I would say to listen to everything, listen to every style of music, even stuff you're not naturally drawn to, because you can absorb tons of great things from all these different styles of music. And the more you listen to, the more it's just going to give you a wider palette as a composer, as a producer, as a player. If you can understand what works, you don't have to love the music, but to understand country music, polka music, Jewish music, whatever, you know, klezmer, like whatever it is that is in that music that connects to people's hearts, the people who love that music, then that's only going to give you this much wider palette as you're in your musical life, you know. And then the last thing I would say is to just diversify. I mean, we live in a new world now where, if again, like the same thing I was saying before, if I just played trumpet, I wouldn't have much of a career. I'm able to make a living because I play other instruments, and because I've learned how to produce and the studio work and how to program and arrange. And so my income comes from a lot of different things, all in this field I love. And you know, so I would just encourage you to diversify your abilities as much as possible. Learn everything you can. One of the things about coming out of this pandemic, I helped probably 25 people get their home studios finally, get those set up.
Wonderful.
And that's because
I forgot to call you.
Yeah. You know, and that's great. Like that, honestly, it's something that everybody should have been doing already, is learning how to record at home. And, you know, so the ones who had that already were the first ones to work, you know, and so that was, so, you know, just learning all those skills and how to do all these things, I think is just really important.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for sharing your time and showing me your store. I will be back.
Okay, good.
What a relief that I found.
Please join me in welcoming Tony Guerrero and West Coast Sound.
Thank you very much. We're going to take a short little break and come right back and play some more jazz for you. We hope you're enjoying the afternoon, and we'll see you in just a minute.